my name is Praneeth. Welcome to my channel, Everyday Space. Last week I did a video about the 2018 version of the BFR. Yesterday we got more updates from SpaceX about the 2019 version of BFR. A lot has changed, so let's see what has changed over the last 1 year. Starships and future BFRs. So this is the Starship, the new and updated 2019 version. The main difference that you can see here is that it only has 2 activated aft fins instead of 3. This is because of weight considerations and aerodynamics issues. So I'll get more into that later. As you head on to the Starship, it will be 50 meters in length with a body diameter of 9 meters. The ship's dry mass would be 120 tons. 85 tons is wrong, by the way. The propellant mass would be 1,200 tons, and the ascent payload will be 150 tons. The typical return payload will be 50 tons. The ship's dry mass means the weight of the ship without any payload or propellant in. The propellant mass is the mass of all the propellant loaded into the Starship it will need for its journey. The ascent payload is basically the payload that you're taking into space with you. And the return payload is the payload that you either bring back from space or the payload that does not leave the ship from the same journey. As you head onto the back of the Starship, you see that the Starship has 6 Raptor engines, with 3 sea level engines and 3 vacuum engines. Each of the 3 sea level engines will produce 200 tons of thrust. They are slightly bigger than the vacuum engines, being the primary source of thrust when they're not in the vacuum of space. These will be used for landing, and they can also gimbal. So as you can see here, this is the 3 sea level engines actually already installed in the Starship prototype Mk1. So the Starship also has 3 vacuumized engines, which will be used in the vacuum of space. This will be used for orbital maneuvers and if they need to boost up their speed to go to Mars. These cannot gimbal, unlike the 3 sea level ones. As we head into the Super Heavy booster, the Super Heavy booster will be 68 meters in length with a body diameter of 9 meters. The propellant capacity will be 3,300 tons with 4 actuating grid fins. It will have 6 landing legs with 37 Raptor engines. A thing that changed is the Super Heavy used to have only 3 landing legs, which also double as actuated aft fins. But now, because of weight and aerodynamics, as I mentioned before, it now has ditched making the actuated aft fins also landing legs, and they decided to just make separate landing legs. Also, last year there's only 31 Raptor engines, and this year it grew to 37. The actuating titanium grid fins will be used to control landing when they want to land on Mars or here on Earth. So as we head into the rocket comparison, you can see that the tiny pixels next to Starhopper is a human, and next to the human is a Starhopper, which is 18.4 meters tall. And the Millennium Falcon, which is next to it, will be 34.75 meters tall. And the Starship prototype Mk1 is currently standing at 50 meters tall, and the fully completed Super Heavy and Starship BFR will be 118 meters tall, making the tallest rocket ever built in history. So as you can see here, this is the BFR standing on its new and improved launch pad. This is a futuristic design, and this might change over the course of a few years. Will launch from its launch pad on Earth or on Mars or any future destinations. And it will go into orbit from whatever planet it's launching from, which as starting will probably be Earth, because you can't go to Mars without actually testing the actual BFR. So after it goes into orbit, the Super Heavy is going to do a flip back, detach from the Starship, and then do a flip back using its cold nitrogen gas thrusters, and to head back to its launch pad or to another drone ship down in the ocean. The Starship will then continue to either deploy a satellite in low Earth orbit or to keep in orbit to wait until orbiter refueling. I'll get to that in a second. But on the other hand, the Super Heavy will come back, and after it almost reaches the Earth's atmosphere, it will do a boost back burn to scrub off its velocity and almost create a literal force field around the bottom of the rocket to protect it from the heat re-entry of the atmosphere. This will make the Super Heavy not break down in the atmosphere. So after it clears the atmosphere, it will then do a boost back burn and perform a maneuver called a hover slam. A hover slam is when you fire your engine so you touch the ground exactly when your velocity equals 0. So it does a hover slam, and then it ignites 1 or 3, we're guessing, of its Raptor engines to do another boost back burn to land. At this point, it will also deploy all 6 of its landing gear or landing legs to touch back on the drone ship or back on land on a separate landing pad near the one where it launched. When you do orbital refueling in space, the main purpose of it is to save the propellant mass of the Starship so the Super Heavy can lift more payload. There's no weight considerations in space because Earth's orbit will hold as much no matter what with no fuel. So the tanker will leave from Earth on another Super Heavy full of propellant and load it into the Super Heavy. The Super Heavy and Starship, which launched earlier. The Super Heavy is already detached, so it will find its way to the Starship, which is orbiting. It will then transfer all of its fuel to the Starship, so it can begin its journey to the Moon or Mars. This allows it to carry more payload to Mars or Moon because the Super Heavy at the ground does not have to lift all the extra payload. It can lift people instead. So after orbital refueling, the spacecraft can now head on with the extra fuel to another planet in our solar system. This could be Mercury, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, or any other planet you can think of. The orbital refueling gives it the boost that it needs to carry more payload and more people to one of these planets. So the heat shield, as you can see here, is made out of stainless steel and rugged ceramic tiles in a hexagonal pattern. Stainless steel is good for a heat shield because it can resist really high temperatures compared to other typical heat shields. They use rugged ceramic tiles for maximum heating areas to prevent extra caution for the maximum heating areas. This makes most of the heat shield fully reusable and with very low maintenance. This also supports their motto, rapid production and installation, which is a goal on almost every single SpaceX build or rocket. This will make the overall Starship cheaper because they won't have to replace the heat shield every single time. So the main primary goal of the Starship and BFR is to really colonize Mars. Colonizing Mars was actually one of Elon Musk's childhood dreams. So he's planning to do it with his SpaceX's Starship and BFR. So thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please like this video and please do subscribe.